not. Okay. So now we're recording. Now, have you gone through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shauna, are you muted? Are you? Okay, can you unmute so that we can hear you?
Okay, I'm now unmuted. Just half the times I present, I start with feedback like that. Shall I remute myself?
No,
You're good? Okay, awesome.
I think we're good.
Okay, so I'm Shauna from Mountain Land Association of Governments, MAG. I've seen MAG on the agenda a few times, so I think you're probably familiar with us now. Our vision is our mission is to empower communities or help our communities achieve their visions throughout Summit, Utah, and Wasatch counties. So often when there's something that crosses boundaries, where you need some coordination or representation with the state or whatever, we are there to help. Okay. Okay.
Kind of highlighted these canals of import. The red one at the top right, that's Murdoch. And then we have the North Union Canal that does that swoop, and Carterville that comes off the tail there. Both of these are in your trails plan. You can kind of see there's a swoop, there it is coming down. So there's something that Orem has already been planning for, and it's possible that legislation now or in the future help speed those along because they are fantastic. For example, Carterville, we did a ride with Provo City and Orem City. I think it was 2 summers ago, but we rode starting at Riverwoods and we rode along the canal, the Carterville Road, which had a canal adjacent to it, ended up in Provo again. But for most of Carterville Road, it kind of splits the line between Orem and Provo, and the Orem sections in particular are quite beautiful. They have speed bumps, they're on this lovely hill, there's much traffic, it's calm, and it's just a beautiful ride. It also makes several essential connections, not only to regional destinations like Riverwoods Mall, or gets you close to University Place, but also connecting with the College Connector Trail and the Provo River Trail. And if North Union were a trail and not just a canal, that as well. So regionally, it's significant, it's important to know. Because it is probably not a candidate for piping that canal for a few years, like 10 or 20 years out. It's quite a ways out to actually pipe that canal. But in the meantime, it could be a bike boulevard, which is essentially, it's a low stress street that is comfortable for biking and running. Carterville is already pretty low volume, low speed throughout. So to put in some signage, some things that let drivers know that, hey, expect people not driving to use their space as well. It would be a great candidate for that. And that's something that can be done relatively cheaply and soon. And it would connect, again, make some essential connections. After writing this with Provo and Orem folks, we talked about possible next steps. The first would be just to get the people nearby, get their input, see what they like or don't like. Possibly do some temporary projects to feel that out even better. You know, you all know that if you just plop something down without telling people about it, even when you tell people about it, sometimes there's a bit of backlash. There is also a crossing on 800 South in Orem that if it were to really be a bikeway, it would probably be a light. Any questions on Carterville? Any hurrahs for Carterville?
Wrong.
Thank you. The North Union and Provo bench. This is one that we toured with Juan Garrido from Linden City, and Matt was there, as well as Representative Nelson. We toured that in kind of the middle of fall because we had heard that it might go away in a couple of years as a canal. It's significant in the connections it makes. Schools, again, regional trails that Mag loves, shopping centers. Also, it's one of the few areas in Orem where you could have a trail and not just a bike lane or something where you can mix in with traffic through a dense area. So it would maximize accessibility. Yes.
How would you cross 800 North?
Yeah, that's a question.
That goes right across, there's no light there now. And a lot, they have allowed a lot, I live on that, so
Oh, okay.
they allowed a lot of people to buy clear to the canal. There used to be an easement. They're clear to the canal. Would you go in and have to buy up that land?
I will talk about possibly.
Oh,
Matt, go ahead.
Can I contribute, Chair? Chair, my name is Matthew Taylor, I'm one of the senior planners of the planning staff. I was on this trip with Shauna, I think as well, but I think there's a lot of unknowns about questions like that. We're in the very, very just preliminary stages of resurrecting this idea. There was a study done in 2009 that looked very closely at all the properties along the canal. Emma Tenney's already returned. She's actually assisting in breaking that down into more manageable report that's easy to digest. There's a lot of exchange of a number in that report. 800 North is one of the big challenges, but that will be part of the planning process, looking at alternatives that can get us maybe a signalized there, a signalized bike crossing, a possible pedestrian or maybe an underpass. You know, again, right now, that's the planning process. If we're not seeing any of those are options, we don't know what the options are. The planning process is to explore all options and then rank what is the best solution. So whatever I said is not necessarily the solution. It's something we'll evaluate, consider and say, oh yeah, that's a really bad idea. This is an okay idea, maybe this is the best idea, but it's triple the cost. You know, an underpass or something, right? So for the cost, but those are all things that we worked over probably a 10-year period. This planning process is not going to be fast. We're just introducing the idea again, getting it going. So, and things like properties, you know, how wide the canal is, it's narrower in certain spots, wider in other areas. We'll be looking deeply at all those different issues.
In fact, up to 800 North, it's actually barely room. There's quite a bit of space. The farther north you go, the narrower it gets. So I will say that the Linden Heritage Trail, if you've been up mountain on that trail, that seems to be about, there are trails that wide. That is one of the trails that is kind of narrow, but still something that makes a difference for the community. So, yeah, good question. Road crossings are the best.
Oh, yeah.
But that also gets you to other kind of near-term problems. One being that, well, this is great for Linden City. They created a little shortcut for the water. So at 400 North, they've taken the water, done a little like bypass from the Murdoch Canal to the North Union or Canal, which comes pretty close to their water systems, their ponds. And they are the main user of this water. So since they'll be finishing that shortcut in I think in the next few months, the financial sustainability of the Orem part of the canal is in question. They probably wouldn't abandon it for a couple of years because you have to work with all the property owners that they used to serve, but that is in the near future possible. Also, the canal company doesn't own the land fee title, it's an easement. So if they stopped moving water through the canal, that easement would disappear and it would go to the property owners who have never, since the canal was built, actually been able to access the canal. Most of them probably don't know that they technically own that land.
A lot do though.
A lot do.
Oh, they're, especially when they move in, less people use it now because most of them have died. You know, like men on 50s. They,
No, we want to go this over.
yeah, and they've even sold their water rights. So there are a lot less, but there's still, as I walk, there's still a lot that every once in a while you see the water across.
Oh,
That'll be one of the things that will, why it's important with the planning process is figuring out how many property owners are willing to part of their fee
Wait
title,
20 years and
or
they'll be
what
dead.
cost it would take,
I mean, I'm just.
or are there some other type of legal means for continued use of the easement with the trail? Those are all things that we still have unknowns on, that we'll have to work through, and it may be such that it's just infeasible with the ownership question to really do anything. But we don't know what we don't know yet, and so we're gonna explore, okay, what can we do, and does it make it feasible?
What's the timeline that you think would be realistic?
One, there's no funding really, right, Shauna, other than possibly this bill. I don't know,
funding for the like piping the trail.
doing anything, really.
I mean, a trail like this, I think, would be attractive to MAG, but if you had to pipe it first, you would have to look for other services for that. Yeah, it depends. There's money out there.
You'd have to go for federal funds.
Yeah, I think, considering just the logistical planning challenges, it's a minimum 5 years before you saw any construction, probably more realistically 8 to 10 years. And because just the property ownership questions alone is probably a 3 to 5 year story process, and we might get halfway through and say, yeah, this is just too hard. Or we get halfway through, it's like, yeah, we might actually be able to get this done. Let's keep on going.
So if the canal was piped,
We won't know until we actually start forcing.
What's the bill? What are they proposing to do with the bill?
The bill was for you, there were some earlier iterations that had more transfer of ownership components, but this is just for UDOT to develop a canal trail network and toolkit. There are several municipalities that have like an open canal with lots of space off to the side, and the canal companies are worried about walkability or access. So for UDOT to facilitate that in whatever situations is appropriate, and then consider canals for corridor preservation. There was initially a city first right of refusal kind of thing, but that trickled away. So
So they trying to incorporate it to where we can exercise those on easement, not, because fee title is one thing, because in the canal, that can be quick claimed and it's actually transferable, but the easement, that'll be that's why I was curious to know if that's why it's stuck in committee, because some of these, I mean, Murdoch Canal, that was a grant for them to pipe it. They saw the water savings, so that was the external component. The county jumped on board and helps with the maintenance of the trail. But that was fee title.
Mhm.
And a lot of these were their easement, to your point, they just encroached into the easement because they're just building out there and doing it. There's really, to your point, they haven't sort of been doing it, but
Well,
it'd be
they
nice if
paid
they
for
could
the-
exercise the use of the easement. I think that's what maybe I thought stuff.
Possibly, yeah.
So I think my question's answered in the bottom right paragraph. If they were to pipe the canal and then build a trail on top of it, can the property owners say, oh, we want that back, or can they pipe it, trail it, and then we just still use it?
If it's piped it, the canal company still needs access to for maintenance, and they would still have that easement.
So that's,
And there are some legitimate reasons why the town company would want to maintain a pipe that's. One is a secondary redundant system to supply water. Future planning. So I don't know, they'd have some reasons that they would articulate why they do that. Actually. Use money to pipe it, right? So they're not just gonna pipe it for the sake of the trail, but they have some legitimate purpose behind that.
That's, and hopefully part of the bill is that they can use corridor preservation for trails and active transportation. That's the one key we don't have is we can use eminent domain, corridor preservation on roads, but we can't for trails, trailheads and things like that. So it would be, maybe that's where they're up there chasing their tails, trying to figure out how to do that.
Is there any money in this or any idea to look at existing trails, where I'm going? 1600 north and 4th east is a deadly intersection. They should have done an underpass, but there was no money, so they just put a light. And that's why it worries me saying, well, we'll put it underneath 8th North. Well, they didn't on 1600 North. In that bill or in any of these, is there money to solve an existing problem that wasn't taken care of when they built the trail?
There might be other bills that deal with that,
But not in this one, there's no
This one's
component
just
for
look at
existing.
the canals and
Okay.
help make that easier for canals to be trails. Along with that corridor preservation.
You wish there was money.
So piping it. Possibly if easements could be transferred for trails, that would be nice, but that's something that the legislature would have to change. So that's not. This year. Or possibly. That's what I have. Carterville. And North Union / Provo Bench are great canals in Orem that make wonderful connections. And hopefully something at the state or through MAG or whatnot, or even Carterville becoming a bike boulevard soon would help with our regional and local transportation.
I want to thank Shauna for coming and joining us tonight and allowing me to interject a little bit too. Thank you all for hearing us. I think even though this project is a ways off, it's important that there's discussion early. So get feedback just like yours, this underpass issue, how we challenge these, but also that you can be thinking about them. Even if it's sort of stewing in the back corner of your mind that as these develop and progress, we can hold the dialogue and the discussion around. But this is the right direction to go, and if it is, then hopefully advocates help move these things along with our 11 years and the residents. Thank you.
I'm gonna skip to another topic that Shauna might be able to speak to.
Yeah, safe streets for all.
Item 7. Sorry, item 7. I'll just briefly introduce it, but we're basically, if I understand it, it's $600 million. Is that the same one that is federally, and that we're looking for some of that?
Don't recall the exact.
Okay. We're pursuing a grant for high injury fatality areas with MAG. And the area we've identified is for South and Geneva Road, where they've had a fatality. And MAG is, I think Parametrics is doing all the legwork for doing that. And so just wanted to let you know that the Safe Streets for All, the SS4A is a pool of money that we all compete for to try to improve intersections and pedestrian safety. If you have anything else to
Okay, yes,
add.
yeah, well, the grant is the Safe Streets for All plan, the regional plan that Mag's ending up will be completing in time for the cities to apply for individual projects like this one. In the next week or two, there will be a big push for getting public comment for the plan at large as part of that process. So watch out for those emails, or if you follow Mag on Facebook, we'll post it there as well. Yeah, and once that plan is wrapped up, then we can go after that, those projects.
Yeah, Meg's hired a consultant to look at Utah County and talk to each city and say, what's your project? What's your project? And then they're putting it all together and then we can package it up and pursue funding.
Do you have a specific project for ourselves you want done, or are we just?
There's a potential signal to go in on the west of the sports park, restriping, adding double left turn lanes for UDOT at Geneva, putting a median in where the gal ran across, removing a left turn into a school teacher parking lot that would extend and clear up that area. And then we threw out a few ideas today about changing access to the parking lot, kind of a one-way system, but that's the project that has a lot of attention due to the fatality. If there's others that I know you mentioned, there's a lot of attention on 1600 and 4th. We'll talk about that too. But these grants come up and there's a ton of activity on pedestrian safety right now in general. Schools.
Is that the only pedestrian that's happened on years?
I've only been here 4 months. So
They had small 64.
I don't know if it was Maine or Fourth. Was it Northeast?
No, I understand, 1600, right?
1600 North.
Yeah.
It's I-16. That's what it is.
I think there was a child hit,
I
but
had
not
never
killed.
saw
It was
that.
one each. There was a fatality.
And they haven't been killed.
It was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So appreciate it. And you can stick around or head out. Okay. We'll back up. Go to, I think it's item 3, just to kind of check in with you. Cascade Elementary, we met with the community council, school community council. We talked about this intersection right here, which is 8th East and 2nd North, and we also talked about 4th East and 2nd North over to the west will show, but we got a lot of input, talked to the principal, talked to teachers, talked to their council. It's similar to this, but just for the school. And we discussed adding crossing guards, at least here. And I think if I showed you before, we had some video and some pictures of the cars blocking kids crossing walks. The lady was standing here, looking here, and there was a car blocking the kids, and they were just standing there waiting. We discussed the red curbing here. There's red curbing here and red curbing here, and people just ignore it. And you can't see if you're pulling out and there's cars parked, you can't see, so you pull more and more out, and then you're in the lane. And so we have some delineators that you can drive over. We can put in. We also discussed with the school putting in a right turn pocket here. We have to make sure the hydraulics is right, hydrology, because this is a drainage basin and it's not very deep, so it's already pretty shallow. They are up for it. If we signalize this, we would take the hawk signal out and let them cross up here at the light. We would also have to restrict parking. There's complaints about people parking here and here and never moving their cars. So we gave them a bunch of like toolkit ideas, and they're going to get back with us and say, yeah, we like this and we don't like this one. But they do have an existing crosswalk. It's just out of this picture, looks like.
That's right.
They do have one here, but I believe they moved it. Did they move it more center, or is it still there? I know that they recently put in a beefier one and a crossing guard, but there's none over here. And I think some of the schools in town have up to 7 crossing guards at different intersections. So we're going to start with that and then see about signalization. We talked about blacking out these bus parking lines because actually buses don't park there anymore. But people think they do, so they're obeying the paint, and
They showed me, yeah, like, I'll wait that.
ironically, they're obeying it, and so they don't use it. So that went well. The other item, this is same road, further west, 2nd north. This is 4th east. There's no crosswalk between here and the school for 4 or 5 blocks. And so what we determined was kids that live in this quadrant can just walk down to the crossing guard, and kids that live in all of these 3 quadrants, we would put a crosswalk here, get rid of this one, and add a crosswalk here. So that would capture everybody, and they would just walk down 2nd north separately, and then when they hit the light, they can get into the school.
Is that North Union Canal?
That's the
It is.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
See what you're gonna have.
You can tube down that one. So any questions? That's just kind of the update. We've met with multiple community councils and kind of pitched the same things for different reasons.
200 North is, on your plan is a proposed hydro. We're about Boulevard and had a process, but being a bike route, the bike boulevard, and having a safer crossings there. We're positive and reinforce each other.
Yeah, I'm not able to measure on this, but yeah, typically either restricts parking or widen. There's a lot of options, but it's definitely a step in the right direction to get it friendly and usable. I don't have drawings of what a bike boulevard would look on this one.
Is that still good, the bike trip and the bike bus?
Yeah.
So even if the web chat, you're still in Monster.
I believe so, yeah.
If they go farther north and they come back around, is that still the route they're taking?
I'm not sure, I haven't actually written everything.
I know they were kind of picking up some of the Sharon or elementary students. And having to enjoy the bike bus and then back to go south. So,
What is the bike bus?
it's,
in the long way.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, we've got parents in the front, parents in the back. And they have all the kids who ride their bikes to school, and as they go on this route, and they have kids jump on the bus
Okay.
with their bike, and they've been picking up some of the kids from Sharon, and then they take them to Cascade. And a great way to integrate with other students and make sure that they have a good safe ride to school.
Next item, again, we went to Northridge Elementary Community Council. It's a little bit more isolated. It's off 1600 North, for good or for bad. It's not on a major road, but because of that, people don't realize there's a school, so they don't treat it like it should be safe, right? So it's this catch-22. They were pretty good about crossing guards. Most of the stuff they talked about was 1600 North. The sidewalk is your normal 4 feet. It's hard to see here, but there's evergreen trees, I think cypress, that are right up against the sidewalk, and if they grow a foot or 6 inches, they're already blocking it. And then natural walkability, it's basically room for one, and then they're right there in the road. So I give them a list of options that they could do and apply. Part of it is speeding on 1600 North. Can we narrow the lanes and restripe them to be 10-foot lanes? Can we take away parking and add a bike lane? Can we widen the sidewalks and take away parking? And one thing that was discussed that may not be on my list is, if this ever develops or doesn't develop, can they have a connection somehow so that this neighborhood all up here doesn't have to go down to 1600. And I know it's a farmer's land and it would cut through that, so it's probably a long shot, but in thinking of connectivity, this one,
You go west of it, and then it goes up and turns, and that's a natural way for that route to get to.
yeah, this is a canal again,
North.
north. She knows her canals.
Now you get to have another underpass under 1600.
So they're thinking outside the box, like if this ever connects, we want to include access for pedestrians. I gave them this list, you know, where would you apply for crossing guards, the rectangular beacons we've discussed in the past. You may or may not need a hawk signal across 1600. One option is they could say, hey, let's pursue widening the sidewalk. And we either go on people's property or out into the street and change that, narrowing lanes, widening the road with bike lanes at a side and a wider sidewalk. And there's also not a lot of signs that say there's a school here. It doesn't really have a school crossing zone. I think we've discussed that before, where Utah doesn't have school zones, they have school crossing zones. So they don't slow traffic down unless there's a crossing, right? And I don't know, so it's like a state law. They have this is how you do a crossing zone, and it's this many feet before the school, this the crosswalk, and there's a, you know, flashing yellow 20 miles an hour, but they don't say there's a school in the area, we're just going to slow you down. The city I worked for in Reno did that. It was a 45-mile-an-hour road. It was 20 miles an hour and no crosswalks. It was just kids on the side of the road, be safe, but they don't have that here. So maybe some more visible signs on number 7 to say school close by, trying to get creative to say you're in a school area. Looks like you have a question.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm agreeing, I'm thinking, I'm visualizing, and you're right, you have no idea. Here's our kids going across for a school up there. Because in my mind, 1600 north is the dividing line. So I would think everybody south goes to this school, everybody north goes to this school. And I have no idea these kids go up here.
Well, it's constantly changing with the schools closing and the boundaries changing.
If Windsor closes,
Yeah.
you've got, you're gonna have so many kids crossing 1600.
And part of that's the school district's responsibility. You know, we had Reese built in Spanish Fork, and my kids crossed the main drag, and then they built another school and then they separated and said, you kids both go here and you don't cross. So it takes time, but they also need to update the safe routes to school every time they have a boundary change. And that was the 8th item was, are they sending them the right routes? Is it a safe route? They were receptive. They're supposed to get back with me again and pick some of these things from the toolbox of what they want to pursue. 5th item on the agenda, we've talked about the 1200 west. North is to my left. This is 1200 west, and I think the south road is about 340, and this is 380. North.
Okay.
So this is about 360. So we're going forward. We're designing this right now. We're going to get a cost estimate.
What's the?
13, not 20. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 12, it's about 1360.
Yeah, it's 1360. You're right.
1367.
No,
North.
1200 west.
Yeah. So I had one. Yeah, we've shown you this a few times. Just this is the sidewalk ends suddenly, doesn't go anywhere. People are running across. So the school district or the school itself was super excited about this. They've, not just during school hours, but throughout the day, people will just run across when they get to the end of the sidewalk. So that's something we're going forward with, to help with Bonneville Elementary.
Things on the road, Darrell, for a lot of 1200 west.
It looks like there's one
There
here.
are some.
Okay, sorry, are the bike lanes accounted for in that design, or do they?
They haven't done a full design, and so we'd have to double check. This was a schematic done a while ago.
I'd imagine they'll probably just have to that little spot in there merge, I think,
Yeah.
or we're gonna have to swing it and Yeah,
Cause you could.
open them. We could open up the islands, I guess.
Right, you could do the bolt outs of something that is. The migrant can go through.
I'll make
Also this is actually at the point where we're roughly in the area where the bike lanes start. Because there's a point from 1340 south where we don't have them. Looking at the. Let's see how big this is. Yeah,
All right, how do we get back to my screen now?
because we don't have sidewalk on that west side. That west side is not fully improved all throughout there. We don't have sidewalk, and that's part of the reason why we're putting this crossing here is we don't have any sidewalk really further south.
I'd try to get to Google Maps, but this is not my computer and just gonna mess it up. But we'll double check, make sure it's bike lane friendly. It looks like there is one, but there's no paint that I see, so.
Yeah, that one starts at, the southbound one starts at the intersection, northbound one starts.
Right up here.
The bike lanes dropping because we put.
Oh, there's a bike lane right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So there's the bike lane starting. So we may have to start it after, but it looks like it starts right there.
Started before and just make it so that bikes. can
Go through
If it's bollards or something.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe we'll share that with you. The design. No,
You
we,
need to be aware of how many people park. When you go through there at night, when everybody's home. When you drive along, you have to be sure that you don't hit somebody out of the car. There's lots of cars park along. And so you may, I don't know how you restrict it, because it's my parking from some of those homes along there.
well, these homes,
Is
yeah, none of these homes front. They all have parking on the front and on the front. This is side. This is apartments that should have enough parking.
Well, you get a little,
But,
it's pretty congested.
well, and from a bike standpoint, the modern bike facilities have 5 or 6 feet of bike lane and 2 or 3 feet of buffer and then the parking. So bike lanes used to be a little 3-foot stripe, right? And you just take your chances, but they're really considering, you know, UDOT standard, I think is 6 feet. For a bike lane, I think on Lakeview Parkway, we're doing 6. And then there's a 3-foot buffer just between the car doors and the bike lane, if we have the room to do it. So retrofitting, we have to get creative, but something they're aware of. So we'll have that soon, and we'll address bike lane striping and parking. Also an update on road impact fees. We met with the impact fee consultants last week or the week before. We made comments. We had a meeting and they went through all the comments, gave recommendations, and they're gonna finalize it in the next week. Do we have anything to add to that?
we went through the projects and we had some concern, mainly was with that and so the dollars. We was gonna modify the IFFE.
Yeah, there was the impact fees are directly tied to projects due to growth, and some of the project costs were so low. Like, I think the Orem roundabout was in there for 500,000, the UVU roundabout, and it should be 2 or 3 million. So we're adjusting those to be more in reality, because that directly changes impact fees, whether it's up or down. We just want to be correct. So they're going through that process.
That for future impact fees?
Yeah, those are the ones that are being proposed and they'll be coming up here.
And those are pulled at building permit time when someone's ready to buy a house or build a house. They're paying, you know, water, sewer, parks, police, safety. I mean, there's impact fees. Roads is just one of them. Talked about number 7. We also created a little one sheet for the legislature. I think Ryan and Bren did a presentation on competition for some money. They gave them this little flyer. And Center Street, I-15, Geneva, Vineyards up here, this little choke point on Center Street is the only place it's 2 lanes / 3 lanes. And so we asked for $1 million to widen this with minimal right away or no building take, but maybe some land, and there's just some bullet items. Widening it, it's a choke point. There's about 10,000 cars a day here. It's $10 million if we have to redo this rail crossing, and we're assuming a little bit for what do they call that when we liquidated damages for, we would be breaking our own rules by changing their setbacks. If we have a 25-foot setback and we're taking it, they get damages for that. So if we have limited less that, and if this rail crossing, there's a timing where this railroad is supposed to go away. So
Is that used?
very, very little,
What's that?
the railroad.
There's a spur line, there's one business there where it was BMC or whatever it is, that's in.
Burton Lumber or something.
Yeah, the lumber
So they
company
still
right here.
use it.
They actually come in here and they get a shipment. I don't know if it's once a week or how often it is. And the problem is that, to John's point, this is money, some additional money on top to build that crossing now, so we can go ahead and move forward. Vineyard is working with Utah, with Union Pacific to reroute this spur line. And part of that is taking it out to the west and coming around and tying in around 16th North. But this piece here, in order to service this spot here, they'll have to do some siding. They have to put another track in there so it can kind of turn around the train when they go in here to service it. So we're just looking for some additional dollars to help with the railroad crossing, because it's easily $750,000 to $1 million, because you have to have, now you're going across 5 lanes, you have to have the detection. It's going to be, it'll have to be programmed in with the signal and longer arms and everything else. So it's quite costly. So we're trying to do it sooner than later, because taking forever to get that spur line Vineyard fixed.
Geneva also was planned to be widened to 7 lanes. So, and Vineyard is expanding. So this just becomes gets worse and worse. The other item down here, it's ranked in number 4 out of 20 plus projects on MAG's list. So right now we're going through a funding cycle every 2 years. The initial idea report got ranked and we're number 4. So we're trying to use other monies to cut into that $10 million to show it. If you can kind of show some skin in the game, your peers vote for your project and it shows better. So
Question. Last time we talked about this, and it's probably been years by now, but there was just no stomach for even touching this part of Center Street. Where do you even widen? Like, where do you go? What do you take from?
so the south side, I think.
I mean, around when it's getting close to the city center.
Oh, you mean not here, but
But of course,
east of here?
Yeah, where it's really congested. That's where I wonder
So-
where you're gonna go.
I believe that was taken off the master plan, like to not touch that.
So this.
So this is from.
This is from, yeah.
Okay, that explains the scale I've been struggling to understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought that was from I-15 to Provo?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, not Provo, but.
Don't.
Yeah, that whole,
Very, very sorry.
I mean, I drive home every night that way and every morning. And and it backs up all the way to 8th East. And it's just, what does this city want to do politically? Because to widen to 7 lanes, you can see down the hill by the gas stations and Lincoln Law is slopes and then businesses. So that's a massive undertaking politically and cost. So
I apologize.
not at this time.
Derailing.
It's all right. Yeah, this is less, we're hoping we're not, we don't do eminent domain in the city. So we're trying to fit this within what's there now and take landscaping and stuff. And there's also some drainage basins right through here that we're cutting into, so we'd have to modify that. But we hope it's not 10 million, but it's a MAG project that we're pursuing. Okay, I think this is the last item. The land purchase of the I-16. So this is the Murdoch Canal. We've been talking about 16th and 4th many times. We have this piece of land that is up for sale And Sam probably knows more about this and the appraisal and the process.
So originally there was a property owner, they had it listed for 1.5 million. We ordered an appraisal. The appraisal came in at 1.3. And then in that time frame, the siblings that are managing their parents' estates changed. Now they're thinking it's around 1.8. So at least that's what they think it's gonna be. So I think kind of in a holding pattern. I think we kind of thought, because initially we thought, hey, we could purchase this, hold it, figure out what we're gonna do. If we're gonna do a bridge or pedestrian crossing, and then maybe it's a trailhead or something we can kind of. But with them raising the fee, I don't think we have the appetite for that. But I think we had a councilman that was gonna reach out to them and see if they could reconsider. So that's kind of what we were doing.
Kind of a community. So we talked about even if that area
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, it could be the Gilman trailhead. So I don't know where it's at. I think there's been some political folks now that are getting involved with that.
Well, they considered we could buy it, do whatever we're doing, and then the city will sell it back to them, the land that we did use, you know,
That's-
beneath the corner.
Sure, yeah.
So sell it back to you after we get all our mess done,
Well, we can sell it to anybody. It doesn't have to be back to the original owners, right? I mean,
but if that would make them.
yeah,
Right.
And then they can sell it for 8 million. They want money, I know.
1.8.
Parents died, we want them.
so part of the tunnel or the bridge would be landing and trailhead, like you said. And so we just wanted you to be aware that that's in the works, along with everything else at this intersection. We've already discussed. We just got a cost estimate from the consultant JUB. It was like 13.8 million
To go under,
go over,
to borrow.
I believe.
Could be, I didn't look at the email, but
Yeah.
you're about right.
So we figured it was 12 to go under and 15 plus to go over, so it's right, and that's today's dollars, so.
Is the power company okay with that?
We haven't met with them yet. This is just, we had hired JEB to do the study to make sure that the approved project we have with MAG is around that. And we just wanted to see, is that the right solution? Because we have that project funded, we can move forward. We hired JEB to do a study, do a big PI, and it seemed like it was pretty resounding, multi-phase approach. Let's do some surface improvements. Directional crosswalks with rollouts trying to shorten up that distance, possibly adding detection on either end to put a scramble in. With that being the first phase, with the end game being what everyone was supporting with some sort of a grade separated either under or over. So,
And the power company, they have their rules. We gotta be so many feet away from a line, so, I mean, as long as we meet their standards like every other agency, yes, they should let us unless it gets in the way. As you know, there's a ton of infrastructure right here
Oh, I know.
that people don't like, so depending on what utility and can it be moved and all those things, but we've got a tunnel that worries about sewer. If you have sewer lines underneath the road and then you put it, how does that work? There's aerial issues.
Oh, easier.
Well, then you've got the signal head
we go over, I mean, that's
and the
thing.
power lines.
Then it's just a matter of do we bury the distribution line and then raise up the poles for the high voltage. So there's those are part of the.
And the depth of a tunnel is less than the height of a bridge, because the bridge bottom has to be at least 18 feet above the road for trucks and everything. So the bridge becomes more expensive and it has its minimum height at the road level. So they're two complete separate options and have different pluses and minuses. And I think what we've heard most is that people don't like the safety of a tunnel, like that. So we have city administrators pursuing that purchase, and we have the funds. I think that was Sam's idea to pull it from a fund that we have to use for this, and we're not using it. So we're not taking anything from the general fund or not doing another project because of this purchase. It's
We have some fund balance in our transportation sales tax, and that money can be used towards active transportation, so we would use that, and then as long as it's in that type of a use, it'd be great. When we talk about putting in a park, dog park, some other options, I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen there. If it's not that use, then those funds just have to repay the other one. But yeah.
You mean in the triangle?
Right.
That would be nice.
I don't know if Ryan has a dog, but he keeps bringing up dog parks. On every project we talk about, he's like, that'd be a good dog park. I was like, are you a dog person?
I think he does have a little.
Okay.
Little ornery dog.
He must be a dog person because that's the first thing he thinks of.
And it was gonna maybe be.
And you guys ever meet with UVU on a roundabout, find out what the problem was?
No, we have not. And that's the thing is we're trying, we've got the data collected and we can speak to that.
Yeah, I
Right
mean-
now, we're just, the hard part is this time of year, it's Val Peterson, who is the VP of facilities, I think is his title. He's also in the state legislature. So he's up there doing what state legislature do.
We got the data back. We recounted the roundabout since the school housing, student housing is done. In the original traffic, we had to estimate what it is. And I think Hales did a traffic study for one of the developers up there that didn't happen or did happen, but everything was an estimate. And so we were basing it off of that. So we thought we would gather traffic counts during school where the housing is occupied.
They promised the count would go down, is that true?
Just
I think in the PM peaks, as everyone was talking about, yeah, they said that the numbers would be there. What do you find?
I haven't looked closely at it yet. I have to dig up the old stuff from 2 or 3 years ago to compare what we said was going to happen. The thing is about the school, it's not an 8 to 5 place. Like students may get there at 9 or 10, but the commute traffic is 8 or vice versa, or they don't leave at 5, they leave at 3. So we kind of have to look at what's the worst overlap time period. It's not just
Do an all day study.
Yeah, they did like 12 hours or 16 hours and then looked at the peak times of everything and then gave us those numbers. Roundabouts are always harder to count than intersections because you can see a car leave the roundabout, but you can't tell where they came from. Whereas an intersection, if you're counting intersection and the car goes this way, you know they came from that way. But in the roundabout, you don't look back and see where they came from because you're counting all 5 legs. So it's a little bit more intense for them to do it, but we have to meet with UVU and Val and Frank Young. And last one, I guess I have 2 number 9s. You get 9 twice. The Sherwood Haven street connectivity plan, we talked about it here. We think we even voted on this, and it's gone to planning commission and they gave it a no recommendation. City council looked at it and Holtner extended it and continued it. So I think as it stands now, we're not really focusing on connections C and D as much. A lot of the discussion has been, hey, these could still connect. It's not affecting this land, which is really what's going on. So there's a camp that wants A and B to connect, and there's a camp that does not. And there's a discussion of moving A down here, where this 4th West would come in and then turn and connect here, and then this would continue to be a cul-de-sac. So I think the council's meeting on the 13th
Next week, there's 2.
to discuss this further. And the applicant has to do some homework and show some things, but we've met with the council individually about this, explain things, but right now we thought some of the neighbors did not want it to go through because of the connection, but we're getting mixed things, and that's up to you guys to figure that out. But
Does engineering tell city council, here's our recommendation?
yeah, we've kind of already stated, ignoring land use, ignoring people's houses and that if in a true perfect world, we would have A connected B just for connectivity. Now that dehumanizes people's, quality of life sometimes, but just from a strictly, if we were to start over and just connect it, it would probably be helpful for the general community because you're bypassing 1430 in Sand Hill, you're bypassing Sand Hill Parkway, and you're getting up to Krispy Kreme, and you can cut 2 signals out. So, and C and D connecting would be for a different reason. Access to the city park. There's sewer, septic, people on septic. There's 10 homes on septic up here that we could run sewer down and do that. But they're 2 separate issues. And so, yes, we kind of gave a staff report that says we've have A and B in there. It was voted and approved by city council 2014. I think this plan was. And so let's keep it.
No, I appreciate that. I know the reason I have it, obviously, council has the job of looking at the political and the emotional, right? But somebody has to be independent of that, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that engineering is how it should be.
Yeah, because I mean, the roadway connectivity affords that grid network, but it also allows for utilities to connect through now that they're dedicated.
And I remember the comment that's like, well, you're going to destroy a neighborhood. Well, you're already destroying neighborhoods. Right. Exactly here, right? But you're putting people through little teeny tiny streets trying to get up, and this actually improves a lot of it by doing it. So yeah, right there.
I think people get the idea that they own the street in front of their house. And they do not. We all own the streets in Orem. And I would like another option besides Carterville Road and a north-south connection. And I think it would benefit the whole city to have more connectivity.
Just human nature. Ever parked in front of your neighbor's house and walked in? My wife too is like, who's parked in front of our house? I'm like, I don't care. It's not our. It's just
It's a large.
right.
But we don't own it.
Yeah.
It's all of ours.
So that'll be
Public streets,
next
public
week.
sidewalks. Well, not to mention that like long dead end streets and cul-de-sacs are a financial sinkhole. From city coffers.
Yeah. So you have a dead end here and a dead end there, and this was supposed to go through, and again, clearly just non-human element, 1600 south to go right through would be great. But you can imagine how these people feel about that, or vice versa. So
There's a street going through in my neighborhood that my neighbors aren't happy about.
yeah.
But it's going through because it needs to be connected.
So we'll know more kind of next week. And I think it's kind of tied to the site plan that has unofficially been submitted to what that enables. Because this road going through greatly changes what can be built there and how it looks. So look for that next week. I think that's a redundant add-on right here. This is just supposed to be other items to talk about. I'll ignore this part of that. I think was a copy and paste error. Whoops. Ignore the 400 and over. It's just other items. We want to thank Shauna for coming and welcome any time to report in on things.
I do have news. No, as I say, yeah, I am here to sadly announce that this will be my last PAC meeting that I have set for the position in American Fork as a public works director.
Congratulations.
Whoa, behind us.
Yeah, that's not good for us.
Of course, you're going to orient the new person.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an interim, it'll be John that'll kind of be handling this.
I'll be handling tech,
You're gonna handle us?
just handling, yeah.
I've been with the city going on 22 years.
Well,
Yeah.
you're ready to retire.
Getting there.
You did, you went to.
So yeah, no, it's kind of crazy.
Well, we'll miss you.
Yeah,
What's this place?
I'll give you a cell number if you want to bug me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not changing, so.
We'll call you.
You guys are in there, so I can go ahead and just put.
I know we have 22 years of knowledge. We're losing.
A really great job.
Agreed.
Do we need to vote to adjourn?
I'm sorry.
Do we have to vote to adjourn or do we just adjourn?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah.
motion to adjourn. All second. All in favor?
I.
All opposed?
Unanimous.
Always is.
Thank you.
Yeah, that really is. You bring something.
I would say that was.
Years.
I was burning through it. We had a lot of agenda items.
I even brought up a third line, you still make it.
Yeah, I did have 2 9s.
Sam, you just added